from the void we know so well. Oh, horror, fantasy, the stories we tell. Sci-fi dreams where the stars collapse. Comic books stacked high in gaps. Mike and Tom, they light the flame. The first, the last, the Nerdom name. Voices sharp like the edge of time. Diving deep in a world sublime.
ML here. Welcome back to the first, the last, the Nerdom, the show where fandom meets fun and deep dives are inevitable. We're continuing our running theme: movies that end in world, or of the world, the end of the world. And this week we're strapping on our web feet, setting sail into the vast waterlogged expanse of Waterworld, a 1995 post-apocalyptic sci-fi epic that made waves for all kinds of reasons. Released in a time where big-budget blockbusters were still finding their sea legs, Waterworld was one of the most expensive films ever made at the time, and became equally famous for its behind-the-scenes chaos. As for the actual story, directed by Kevin Reynolds, starring Kevin Costner as the mysterious mariner, a lone drifter with gills and a moral compass as murky as the ocean he sails. The film imagined a future where the polar ice caps have melted, submerging the Earth and all continents in water. And making society into floating remnants of what it once was on the atolls. But was Waterworld just an overblown disaster, or is there a bold, misunderstood gem beneath the surface? This week we'll be talking about the film's infamous production problems and its surprising world building. The wild performances, including Dennis Hopper as the jet skiing one-eyed eco-villain, where Waterworld stands in sci-fi canon, and where it stands in the sci-fi canon 30 years later with the fans. So grab your recycled paper maps and hop on board your trimaran because it's time to head back to 1995 and take a deep dive.
All right.
into Waterworld. Tom, that was very poor of me, but I'll get better. But as it goes, so yeah. So how you doing this week?
I'm good. When I got the memo that we're doing Waterworld, because we got the memos, I misread it, and I read it as Waterworld, and I thought we were covering the vast array of things about the character from Star Wars Phantom Menace, Watto. I got my impression ready and everything. Hey, what you doing there? But no, it's sorry. My attempt at humor there. But I'm really enjoying our new theme there. It's that led us into it. I keep trying different things with the themes, and that one I'm digging for right now.
I agree. Yeah, this one, like we'll get there with this one here soon.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, I think we got to pay the bills, and I'll throw up the graphic there, and then we can roll through here. We are, of course, Mike and Tom, the first, the last, the Nerdom, and this is our main home on YouTube. We're at 251 videos, building them slowly but surely. In any case, we're also Tom. I believe you're director of Reddit, our Reddit outreach.
Yes. FirstLastNerdom, and I try to find different subreddits to promote our stuff. Last week I tried to promote us on the Westworld one, but as you can see, sorry, your post was removed. So those moderators, that subreddit is so jumping that no, it's not, but that it couldn't afford to let me promote a little of Westworld stuff. But anyway, there's but if you come from Tubi, if you came from Tubi and are now a fan of ours, thank you for showing up. And I do a little promotion there. I am also on X under the same name, FirstLastNerdom, and that's the go-to place where I'll promote our stuff. And when I get, I'm the physical media guy, so when I get some cool physical media, I try posting there. I posted just recently. I picked up The Wicker Man. Hopefully, we'll be covering that here this summer. That's sort of I've been itching to do that one because that one's sort of the precursor to one that we did Midsummer.
Yes.
That sort of Wicker Man kind of popularized the folk horror genre. So
Right.
it's got Christopher Lee in it. But hopefully, if you're into the horror stuff, hopefully you'll catch up with us on that one. But yeah, yep. And Mike, you've got some socials as well.
I do. I am also on X, and you can find me there at ApeIt_Ink, as well as want to just do a plugging for another mutual thing I do with some other friends, where we cover stuff a couple times a day. I was out last week because I was out on the road for work, but I'll be back this week, I think so. But anyway, we talk about current events and whatnot. Great group of folks. Also, my publication of record, ApeIt.Ink. Over there on Substack, you can find me where I take long form, longer look at content. Haven't written in a minute, but there we are. And of course, as always, I just want to hit that up, and you should go check out our last our triplet series to cover the Terrifier, where Tom challenged me, and it was a very interesting ride for sure. But with that being said, I think we're ready to jump in. I just want to you once again. You knocked it out of the park with the coloring and the thumbnail. You are a master thumbnail maker, sir. So thank you for doing that. But yeah, so Waterworld. So Kevin Costner. I knew at some point in my life I would have to talk about this movie. And Kevin Costner. Kevin Costner is a very good actor when he can find, I guess, the right balance for him. You certainly wouldn't accuse him of underacting in this at all. But what made you think of this one to put it in the docket for this week, Tom?
Well, a few years ago, the first time I heard about it, it was, I think, like anyone alive during the 90s, if you were alive, you heard about how much money Waterworld was spent on Waterworld, and how much of a flop it was going to be when it came out, and maybe that kind of helped it become a flop. I don't know. Actually, it turned out to not be a flop. It actually started making money in the home video market after it was released in the theaters. So
yes,
that's kind of a misnomer, and it inspired a theme park ride or attraction that spanned several different theme parks. So it's not like it's not the flop that it's been touted as, but that's sort of like its stigma, and that's kind of wrote it throughout its time. But yeah, it's like I didn't hear anything good about the movie at the time. So
same here. Yeah,
I kind of stayed away from it. I was like, yeah, whatever. But yeah, so a few years ago, I started hearing and reading, or people were kind of like re-examining the movie and then saying that it was a pretty decent movie. And then when I was on one of my Blu-ray buying sprees, it was real cheap, and I bought the Blu-ray for it. And I was like, okay, all right, I'll eventually watch it. And then when we covered Westworld last week, I was thinking of, this year, not that every time we'll do this, but we've been kind of doing theme
right.
month. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be stupid if we just covered movies with that ended in world,
right.
since we covered Westworld? And Mike said, "Hey, that's not such a bad idea." So
No,
that's sort of why. So neither of us were really familiar with this movie. So you're getting our fresh takes. So if this is a movie that you love and have examined it over and over again, you may be frustrated with us because we may be coming at it at newbie angles, but yeah, hopefully you'll glean something from this.
Yeah.
But,
so I too, like you, I had kind of heard the bad talk behind it and around it. It was if the internet had really existed back then and been the culture, it would have absolutely been a subject of ridicule and negativity for, you know, it would have
Lots
been
of
the
memes.
internet's.
Lots of memes. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have, and there still are memes to this day. There's like a couple that I can recall seeing in the time of the rise of the meme. But if anything were ever the internet's or collective society's pop culture's punching bag, this movie was it. Way before that, and you can see with Kevin Costner felt like, so I want to cover this in layers, right? So I'm going to try to find the positive where I can, like where it fits. And one of those things you have to give to Kevin Costner is that he has a penchant for, maybe some people would, if they were really critical, they would say, well, this is just like Kevin Costner trying to recreate Dances with Wolves, you know, like over and over and over. You know, and it's not quite that. It's not quite that black and white to me. So, but you know, you get to see this. You can definitely tell, and I always like to comment on the world building, right? So, you very quickly, you know, the core of the plot. I'll just get that out of the way right up front here. The core plot revolves around, you know, Mariner, who is Kevin Costner's character, kind of being a lone wolf, so to speak, or a lone shark, I guess. I don't know, or bad terminology, but a lone wolf. And he's very reluctant to help protect this young girl who holds the key to finding mythical dry land, because this world is flooded, and you know, and it's all about how it happened like that. And you kind of see wink and nods in the film toward the ecological a little bit. There's I don't know if you would call it a gag or not, but there is like at one point when the bad guys, he's there, Dennis Hopper, his character. You see the Exxon Valdez on one of the things, and it's very, very interesting. And I gotta say, it covers a lot of territory in the time that you watch it. So it's a little over 2 hours, long.
15, yeah.
Yeah. I'll leave it there. So you know, this place is salvation. Of course, there's other characters too that support it, but some of it is about grit. I don't know. It's kind of like another. It shows Mad Max on water, you would say, but it's has a little bit more depth and even some romance, you know, so to speak, or anti-romance. I don't know how you put it. It's a very weird movie. I'm just going to put it that way, Tom. It's kind of hard to take this movie in general. But where do you stand, sir? Did you find new appreciation for this? Like, did you?
Well, it's like I said, it was first time me seeing it. So yeah, I was taking it I try to throw every preconceived thing out of the window when I watch a movie. But yeah, so I was watching it with fresh eyes. But like you said, even the original writer of the script, Peter Rader, was trying to write a Mad Max ripoff movie. So that's sort of baked into its DNA. So immediately you think, okay, yeah, it's Mad Max on water. It doesn't really stray too far from that. Yeah, you do have some ecological things, but Mad Max sort of has that in it, baked into it as well.
It does.
So yeah, and it was originally written, I think, back in the 80s and kind of shelved for a little while. Until Peter Rader brought it back out. And yeah, it went through, I think, 36 drafts from several different writers.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So yeah, that may be indicative of maybe it's kind of muddled nature to it. But
well, and not only did it suffer from a lot of rewrites, I also read about that was the fact that the balloon budgeted $275 million, and to be fair though, fair, love or hate this film, you have to give it to them for the amount of practical, special effects that you see. They went all out. I think they did this somewhere off the coast of Hawaii or whatever. The vast majority of it. But oh wow, you can imagine too. Like there is not one scene like where normally, like in a movie, even the best movie, you'll see a slip up, like where there's an inconsistency, like from one scene to another, like in. And usually they're very brief and minor, and you don't really see them. You didn't see any of that. Like you didn't see an accidental thing of land out in the horizon, They absolutely locked down and controlled this to be, you are on the water. I will give it that. I will give it that, the fact of like what it projects, you get very, very clearly there. And of course, the bigger the screen that you watch this on, you know, the more you feel that
it's
all around them.
Absolutely, it is a blockbuster in that sense.
Right.
Action scenes are top notch. Like you said, it's before CGI took over. It was a little at 1995. It was too costly to just cover the thing in CGI. So they it was all practical, and like you said, you could tell the practical stuff, and everything feels real, and the whole world felt real. That's if you could just praise one thing, it's the action of the movie. It's just top notch. It competes with anything today, and maybe even surpasses some of the CGI mess that's out there right now. But yeah, and you said it was filmed in Hawaii. They had the choice of Hawaii and Australia. I think Kevin Reynolds had talked to Steven Spielberg and was asking for advice, since Steven Spielberg filmed in Jaws in open water, and Spielberg said, "Whatever you do, don't film in open water." So they wanted to do it in like water parks, and I think the one that they chose was in Hawaii, but they didn't do their research very well, because I guess that area that they were filming in was prone to strong winds, and so that sort of helped balloon the expense of the movie, because all the sets were being moved by the wind. They had to realign every shot and stuff. But yeah, for all the hassle that they had to deal with all the the wind and stuff, the fact that, like you said, everything looks and doesn't look out of place in this movie. No. It's a testament to what can be done in this movie. And yeah, a lot of times you watch a movie and hear you read how much it took to make this movie, and you don't see it on the screen. You go, I don't see $200 million, but I see all that money on the screen in this movie.
I for sure do. Yeah. Well, and I think that comes from our appreciation of covering movies. So many movies that we have in the last the last few years, but you naturally set up with this kind of concept of post-apocalyptic humanity. You have the kind of people that are just trying to make it, and then you have, of course, the bad guys, the smokers, as they're known, and isolation, versus being part of a community. And it's funny because Mariner kind of comes in as this kind of counter loner type person, doesn't really trust too many people, and is proven why you see this. It's just very interesting why they have like a few times like where they try to do trade and barter, and I think that's kind of set the tone of how precarious the balance is, which I'll say I saw it. I don't know that it would be subtracted from the thing if it weren't there, but of course, it's you're in water, surrounded by water, but what about the drinking water? How do they do what do they do? And I'll let you handle that one, Tom.
Yeah, the movie introduces the main character, the Mariner, played by Kevin Costner, with him pissing into a bottle,
drinkable water,
a jar. So yeah, it gets you right into what this world is about. It's all about the water. And a lot of Rube Goldberg machines going on as well.
Oh yeah. That's true.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. Yeah, the whole I think they really outfitted that that ship that Costner had. They really tricked it out, and Tamarin, yeah. They really tricked it out, and the whole action sequence that starts the movie really kind of spotlights it, and it makes it cool. It's twofold. You could see his Kevin Costner in action, and you can see that he doesn't care. His character doesn't care about anybody.
Right.
This is a theme that Kevin keeps cropping up again and again in the movie. I guess one of the big things is will the Mariner get a heart? Will he change his ways? But yeah, he doesn't give two F's about anybody, and
Right.
yeah, that's sort of like the start of the movie. Him just surviving in this
Well,
world.
and to be fair, you see the world and why he has to be like that, really. And he's more vindicated than not, and it's really interesting how that dynamic. I'll let you go ahead and do the honors here.
Yeah, on the christening of the boomer juice here. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say too. You kind of see, you get glimpses like, and they don't really talk about it too much, but they kind of hint at it. That it's not just normal humanity anymore. It's we're starting to evolve in certain kind of ways, and that kind of becomes key in certain situations a little bit later on. But for the most part, there's a little bit of woo woo in it, I guess. Like there's got to be an X on the map, so to speak. Whether it's whether actually looking for treasure or treasure is something else. So it's kind of like also like that falls into that kind of trope of that a little bit. It's got tension built in every which way too. Like there's definite space between all of these characters up to a good chunk of the movie. Like it's like, okay, you stay over there. Like I'll talk to you, we'll interact, but you stay over there. And then it's kind of triangulated. There's a lot of triangles. I'll say that way, which is just interesting how they did that. I don't know. I'm not smarter on the cinema side to say if that's a thing or not, but I did notice that. Like there was a lot of triangle conversations and situations that make it very unique. And really, the only thing that changes are kind of like the roles and who's talking. But you swap the other two characters out, bring the other two in, and you kind of have this repeating building of the world, the structure for you to stay interested in.
And just to dial it back just a little bit further to the beginning of the movie, I did enjoy the very beginning with the Universal logo with the world spinning. And the other movie that we covered that had a little funny thing with the world was The Burbs. They started out, and then they zoomed into the Burbs, whereas this movie, they kind of explained what's happened to the world with the logo, with the flooding and everything. And I did read where, if the polar caps did actually melt, it would raise the water to the level that it does in the movie. But this is the movie, so so yeah, let's suspend our disbelief. But I thought that was kind of cool. Well, I will say just before we dive into that, I'm the physical media guy. I hate Universal Blu-rays, especially the early Universal ones. The late 2000s and early 2010s. They try to integrate the internet into it. The special features were tied to you having this Blu-ray in your computer or whatever, and yeah, it just slows the interaction down. And also, if you pause the movie and step away for a minute, it locks up with the Universal logo, and it's hard to get back into the movie. It just sucks. It's one of the worst ones out there. So yeah, no love for Universal on their Blu-rays. Although I haven't bought one recently, so who knows if they've gotten better. But yeah, any of them with that little thing there, I don't know.
Hold on. Let me hold on. Hold on. Go ahead and do it again.
Oh yeah. If it's got this on here, that's one of the older ones. So yeah, it's one of the suckage ones. And look at that. I will talk about Kevin Costner's hairline. It's pretty filled out there. You see that if you watch the movie. Now, would you? Yeah, if you were making a movie and your hair was thinning out, would you get in the water like 90% of the time to make it even better looking?
I guess it depends on what's more important, my public image or the scene or role that I'm in, and for me that would be seen her,
Although,
I'm older, like my hair isn't perfect, it's got
I'm wearing I'm wearing a cap, so no shade to bald people because I'm one.
Yeah,
But,
it's just
but
kind of like you just kind of accept it and move on. But then again, you and I are normies, so like we don't have
he's a super mega star, and I did read where which I was a little tickled. I know CGI was very expensive at the time, but he did spend money on CGI to fill out his hairline a little
That
bit.
is so funny.
They said, which I I kind of wondered about because one of the things about stars, they're kind of vain. So that was one of these stray
as he
thoughts.
should be, he should be. Right.
Yeah, because part of your career is your looks. So that was one of the things that kind of stuck in my head as I watched it. I was like, that's probably not the best move to be getting into water when your hair's thinning and you're a super mega star. But anyway,
well,
lot of sides.
Yeah, well, while we're speaking about Mr. Costner, as the main character here, he's the anchor, pun intended, in a good way, I thought that his performance was, I don't know, like I could take him very, very serious in certain scenes and situations, surprisingly, but he also came across to me as kind of, like when he's being, when you take him seriously, he's stoic, he's brooding, it works, not all the way through the movie, but other times it goes to more like a wooden, kind of I don't know, like I could see his good performance parts that I could find, and I could see the other parts which were kind of like, oh, okay. So how about you? Where did you land on this this man was hardened by a brutal world, to where he had to be guarded against everybody and everything, which again it works. When it works, because you were like, oh yeah, well, yeah, I mean, you literally had nothing but water surrounding you all the time.
The movie definitely has its faults. I think one of the major faults is the acting, which was commented on at the time. Not the stellar performances overall. Dennis Hopper is probably like the most engaging and entertaining of the bunch. But Kevin Costner, his acting, he's not really. I guess he was going through a divorce at the time, I think, and so I think that kind of leans in on the character being more darker and more emotionless, and you have to believe that this character makes the jump, because he's with this woman and this child that she's looking after. We think that maybe she's the mother at the time, but we find out that she's just basically adopted this girl. And the little girl, she's Nola. Nola. She's now an adult, so no hard feelings. But she was a horrible actor as a child. Not, child acting is, it is what it is, and but she doesn't ingratiate herself in this. And they did do they did spray tan on everybody during the movie because everybody's out in the sun, so they had tans. I think the spray tan on this child was kind of obvious and just kind of annoying at times.
Well, it's funny because you kind of it's funny because at the very start of the movie, you already kind of it doesn't hold anything. Nothing is a surprise here, really. Waterworld, okay, so I get it. So okay, we're into the world, or what, blah blah blah, and then you get to this point, and it's like, okay, wait, it's just like it just looks like I don't know, like a California, like the worst part of it's just very, it just kind of does pull you out, no matter what. Not her fault, not her fault, but the deck was in some ways. The deck was stacked against some of these folks. before it, like whether it's the rewrites or the budget ballooning or whatever, or just kind of the a drama as we alluded to in the intro, which we'll get into, I'm sure. But kind of unpacking all this stuff. I think she did the best she could, but like there's only so much range for like when you're basically being carried every other 5 seconds, or she's not really doing anything. She's just kind of like this sack of potatoes that they put here and over here and over here. So she only really got to kind of like really act, I guess, once in a while, but like it's really hard to kind of put that on the shoulders of a child actor.
No shade being thrown to a child. She was doing the best she could, obviously at the time. Played by Tina Majorino, I think is her name.
Yeah.
She did in a few years later. She did a stellar role in Napoleon Dynamite, one of my other favorite movies. so she's had a long and very interesting career. So she's proven herself since. So yeah, no shade thrown to her. Although I do have to say, she does have probably the most dialogue in the movie, because one of her traits in the movie is that she talks endlessly, and she kind of holds her own because everybody in this movie talks and acts like a child. Did you notice this? Like every single person is childlike in this movie, and I don't know if that's intentional or what.
Well, I kind of
but the Mariner's like, no, those are my toys. Don't be taking my crayons.
Also very it's like kind of like where that thing of like less is more that was interpreted by the game of telephone maybe, and it kind of came out as like not great exposition on this one too, even when the dialogue is up front. So but again, you get a mixed bag. I would say for the 25% that's redeeming, there's going to be 3 other parts of it that kind of pull it down and make it sink. But all of that going within, there are is there a group of folks out there that do really legitimately love this film and swear by it, because you can tell like what they were trying to do with this, with Helen and with the other, kind of the caretaker, I guess, for lack of a better term, for Enola. This kind of myth building very quickly, and it kind of goes, and it's kind of like ping pong. They don't go. I will give them credit. You would say when you think what is going to happen next, you can't quite predict it because it's kind of random, I guess, like to counter to that. And then you kind of pull back and you realize, well, the world building that they're doing here is they're on an epic, literally, they're on an Iliad, they're an Odyssey, excuse me, like they're on this broad Odyssey type, level scale of epic, which tries very hard to manage. But what do you think? I'll hand it back to you.
Yeah, and I will say, we're both gamers. What level does every gamer hate? It's the water level. Everybody hates. There's some people, weirdos out there that love the water level, but yeah, that's because there's a bunch of water and nothing to do. Now there is a game, Zelda Wind Waker, that is all water level, but that's much beloved, which I guess maybe has kind of ties to this movie as well, but just because it all takes place on water, but yeah. So that might have been one of the reasons I kind of stayed away from it. It's like, how interesting can and they do a fairly good job of making it entertaining. Although I think one of the weaknesses is the fact that there's not much depth to the plot. It's basically they're trying to get to dry land. The woman and the child are trying to, Helen and Enola are trying to get to dry land. The Mariner, I don't know what the fuck he's doing. he's just chilling and vibing. He don't care if he gets to dry land.
Yeah, that's why his like, that's why when I say I gave him the criticism of being wooden, That's kind of like where you're like, oh, I don't, what are you doing? Like, I get it, but like, he's kind of a little bit all over the map for me. In some cases, it's just like, okay, then it goes to brooding, and then when brooding becomes wooden, and kind of like, okay, now you're just indifferent. Now, why? What the hell? Like you're like that part. I get the part of like pushing them away or whatever, but like that happened an awful lot. And I will say this, to kind of find the positive in this. I think, in my opinion, put the actors acting aside and the screenwriting and the directing or whatever. Who the real heroes of this thing were the crew to make this whole thing work. Like Dennis Glassner, I believe, was the man who created the entire thing from scratch. And that was a massive technical effort. Just to kind of be a cinema nerd a little bit, to kind of slip into there, that this floating city with like your Rube Goldberg mechanisms, like you were saying. But it was functional. It wasn't just a backdrop. It was actually there,
right?
Because it had when you put it on water, you can't just put. Most Hollywood is just very superficial. It's supposed to look like something that's real, but this was very much real. So they did a very good job on that. I'll give them credit for.
I think on the technical aspects of this movie are top notch. A lot of stars focus on maybe the wrong things, whereas Kevin Costner was very much very invested into this movie, both story wise and I guess. Probably technically, because he did once that ship was built, the Catamaran. He actually stayed on it and sailed on it for a week or two before the filming, just to get to where he was very accustomed to the ship and knew how to use it and everything. And I do have to pose the question. Well, the fact that he's so well versed on the ship and he knows what he's doing, outside that, with his interactions with humans and whatnot, there's a. I have to question if this guy's like has mental issues or maybe mentally deficient, or maybe even most likely he's on the spectrum. Is
right.
what I'm saying. This guy is he's very interesting. I did also want to talk about the cuts of the movie. So this final cut that got to theaters is Kevin Costner's cut, because the director Kevin Reynolds quit before the movie came out because him and Kevin Costner had very differing opinions on how the movie should be cut. Kevin Reynolds cut the movie as 3 hours long, and the studio and Kevin Costner didn't want it to be 3 hours because his movie White Earp had been 3 hours and did poorly, so they wanted it under 3 hours. So Kevin Costner did the 2 hours and 15-minute version, and Kevin Reynolds quit, and he said that Kevin should be the director in all of his movies, because that way he could work with his favorite actor and favorite director in every movie he makes. But yeah, we did get to see a little bit of the 3 hour version, because when it was aired on TV, they did it as an event, a multi-night event, and
Really?
And put in a lot of the extra scenes. And the fans, you were questioning whether or not there's fans. There was a fan edit of the movie. They took the scenes that were added in the multi-night event and put them into they cobbled it into the actual movie. And for the longest time, they called it the Ulysses version of the movie, because at the end of the movie, Helen finally gives the mariner his name, which is Ulysses.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. And so it's the Ulysses cut. And then Universal sort of honored that film cut, and they released, I believe, a physical edition of it called the Ulysses cut, where they made it in HD. And plug to Arrow Films. I gave you the link. I don't have this. This came out shortly after I bought my Blu-ray of it, and I was tempted to buy this, but I was going to wait until after I'd seen my Blu-ray version to see if I actually liked the movie before I dove into this. But it does have the Ulysses version as an extra. The actual 2 hour and 15-minute version is in 4K. Tons of extras. If you scroll down there's a whole bunch of extra content in there. So if you are in love with this movie and don't know about this, it's only $35. I think sometimes they do sales and you get as low as 30 or $25.
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely worth checking out if you're a big fan of it and like physical media. But yeah, I like that cover because it's a little bit more true to Kevin Costner's hairline in the movie.
I was also going to say in my praise of the crew and what they did, the technical brilliance that they did to make the world, for what it's worth, was also the music. Like, if this had been, I'm not going to say it was like the best music score ever, but I am going to say that it is original. And unfortunately, well, the music showed up on the best day, and the crew showed up on their best day, and they made this thing. You get a different thing. It would be interesting to watch, one version and then watch the other one, kind of have a discussion. I could see where that might be fun if you have love of this thing, and like you were saying, you had mentioned that Costner and Reynolds kind of conflicted quite a bit.
Kind of butted heads. Yep.
Yeah, and that's kind of the problem when you get a big name star. They kind of tend to become the director, or they kind of become the boss, and there can only really be like one boss.
Well, he was one of the producers too, so yeah.
Oh,
he was
even
the boss as well. Yeah,
right. Yeah, which completely undermines your director. And Kevin Reynolds is a director who can absolutely deliver a fun, good or a serious movie. I noticed he did Count on Monte Cristo, and that's one of my favorite, all-time favorite books and movies. Just as like a classic thing. So he did very well with that. But that'll be.
He also worked with Kevin Costner in a few other movies. Notably, they did the Robin Hood movie as well together. But yeah, right. you mentioned the score. I did read that the Mark Isham actually originally was going to do the score and had done like 25% of it, and Kevin Costner fired him because he said it was too ethnic. I'm kind of curious what that means, and it was also too depressing. I think a little too what was it? Too ethnic and bleak was his reason. and Mark was like, "Oh, I could do another. I could give you another score. I could try again." And nope, Kevin Costner fired him and hired James Newton Howard. So that's James, and he only had like a few weeks to score it. And I believe that Hans Zimmer, one of my favorites, helped him out as well, since he had a little bit of, had a crunch in time. So I think he did a spectacular job for the limited time he had to produce that score. And also, I know that with all the rewrites and everything during the filming, they also roped in Joss Whedon in to help do some edits and rewrites as well at the last minute. Really? And Joss Whedon described it as 7 weeks in hell. Basically, it was Kevin Costner getting him to wedge in his ideas into the movie. And Joss said he kind of got a few little quips and one-liners in the movie, but he was very, very embarrassed by his his writing, all that. Although Joss Whedon is a little isn't the best person in Hollywood right now. So maybe
careers. It's funny because careers rise and fall, and Kevin Costner is no different than Joss Whedon. Only by a completely different side of the silver screen, behind the scenes than on the screens. But I will say, Kevin Costner had every right to, he kind of came at this like as the studio because they have a financial interest. He put his own money in this. So, he wanted a little bit.
He put in $22 million. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he did put his money in.
And so when you are a star and you get to that point to like where you're investing in your own product, of course you would want to have it. But like you had mentioned at the top of the show, there's a lot of ridicule around this film before you even hit the thing.
Yeah.
You know, like with the whole flop, you know, it got a malaise that just quite never left it, even though it technically, like you mentioned, you know, it actually made money.
Yeah, it was #1 at the box office the opening weekend, so it's kind of crazy. I think this movie would have, without the stigma, would have been just another blockbuster movie. Yeah, I think people are way too focused, and we were that way back then, and I think we are, if not more so now, very concerned with how much money a movie makes. It doesn't matter one bit to what does it matter except for the people that are actually profiting off of this movie. Whether or not it makes a nickel or $1 million, you know, it doesn't intrinsically make this movie any better or worse. You know, I've always been very, very interested why people are fascinated by how much a movie makes. It's just beyond me, because some of my favorite movies have never were bombs, like The Thing. That one was classically a bomb, and yeah, Carpenter has classically said that, you know, people keep bringing that movie up to him, and he goes, "I don't care about that movie. It didn't make any money for me. You know, I don't care if it's like you know, this legendary movie." But yeah, that's you know, he's kind of a sarcastic guy, so that's probably just him being sarcastic. But but yeah, it does make sense.
As I recall, though, being a kid, just living through that era, a teenager rather, I do remember that kind of at certain points, there are certain celebrities that just become the butt of the joke, like for years, and that's kind of what happened with Kevin Costner at certain points of fair or not fair. You know, it just kind of lands in that mode. So like a lot of that stuff was over hyped, you know, and at the end of the day, like you had mentioned, there are fans, and I have no doubt that in the streaming era, that it would find new fans because of the because of the whole point is that if you find something and you even have, let's just say that you don't love it, maybe you come into the thing and you like this movie, or you like aspects of it that you want to explore more of, and then you look it up and, oh, by the way, there's 2 other versions over here, you know, ready for you to look at, or whatever, you know, like that alone can generate enthusiasm and positive nerddom around a property, even decades later. Like, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we're all about positivity to movies. I did you know, we've ragged on this movie a bit, but even the movies that we love, you know, we're gonna point out the bad aspects of them. You know, we are gonna, you know, gloss and shine everything. But yeah, this movie is entertaining. I will say that. I was entertained. A 2-hour and 15-minute movie could be a drudge to get through. It could be like a chore to get through. An hour and a half movie can be that.
Sure.
So a 2-hour and 15-minute could be like you know, an eternity as far as movie watching. But this movie goes at a quick clip, has a great action scenes, and the scenes with the characters could be like a slog, but these characters are way wacky. They act in very strange ways. Every single character is a character in and of himself, so it's very entertaining just to watch these people interact with each other. Like the merchant guy that shows up at one point, that guy is just nuts out, crazy, right. Very entertaining to watch.
George.
Yeah, Dennis Hopper is a crazy nut job that's very, very entertaining. Now, I don't know if you examine this world too closely, it might kind of fall apart. I was started thinking about the inner workings of this world and wondering about it and thinking, well, I don't know if that would work. Where are they getting all these cigarettes? I mean, what's going on? Would those be gone by that now? But don't worry about it. Just watch the movie and enjoy it. Yeah, it's not one of the best movies in the world, but it's really entertaining, and I did enjoy it. I will say I enjoyed watching it. Again, it's never going to get on any of my top 10 lists, but because for one thing, I don't really like making top 10 lists, but it's just one of those movies that enjoyable to watch. But yeah, you're not going to think about it too hard afterwards. I am kind of interested in the 3-hour version, so that says something. Definitely says something.
Yeah, again, we try to find we will find the positive of things, but at the end of the day, for me personally, one watch through is probably enough in this lifetime, and I will agree with which I have praised, and I think it lines up perfectly with how I kind of feel about this. Like to me, it's just a little bit too much below the line. I'll just put it that way.
Okay.
But Roger Ebert said that he gave it like I think 2.5 out of 4 stars, and he said it was impressive, but not involving. And I think that is a very fair, square criticism of it, because that still leaves you the opening to talk about the impressive which we have done, and kind of sets the stage for Kevin Costner is not a bad actor at all by any stretch. It's just that just some things just don't resonate. And it is, I think it's wonderful that new folks find this, and maybe they can, we'll have to find the Gen Z. There's going to be a Gen Z critic out there. There probably already are, actually, probably.
Well, you do know that Minecraft is super huge right now. The movie, especially, people, the kids are going crazy for the chicken jockey, and they love they're all for Jack Black again. I'm sporting a beard much like Jack Black now, but yeah, if you blinked, you might not have noticed Jack Black is in this movie. He's the
Really?
he's the smoker plane pilot. They're attacking the ship, and Helen shoots a harpoon gun at the plane. He's piloting that plane that gets hooked onto that harpoon. So if you blinked, you would have missed him. But that is Jack Black. So even Jack Black is in that. So those Gen Z kids that are going through all of Jack Black's film stuff, they might land upon this movie that way. I did notice you did bring up the Valdez disaster. The oil tanker that Dennis Hopper, the Deacon, his character, has his crew of smokers. And there's at one point in the movie, that's one of the great things about watching it at home. You could pause the movie and check things out, but the Deacon says has like this framed picture of Joseph Hazelwood, Captain Joseph Hazelwood, and I thought, is that a real person? So I quickly Googled it on my computer as I was watching it. Oh, it's the Valdez guy. And then when the ship, the old tanker, sank, and it had the Exxon Valdez on it, I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
I thought that was very odd that they would. Yeah, that guy was still alive back then. I wonder what he thought of that. Probably not much, but that was just kind of an interesting choice that they made.
Right. Yeah, it was just interesting. It was just kind of like a fun little kind of Easter egg, I suppose.
Yeah, and for those of you out there that remember the Valdez disaster, which we have an older audience, so maybe you do. If you're kind of curious what happened to that ship, if it's potentially maybe showing up in when the ice caps do melt, and in 2500 when this movie takes place, will that ship still be around then? No, unfortunately not. That ship did get renamed several times in its career, but it was retired and dismantled in 2012. So that ship is no longer with us.
Right on. Yeah. Yeah. So I would recommend. I would at least recommend at least a watch through.
Yeah, there's. I think what one of the things I love about movies is I love odd movies. I love weird characters. That's one of the things that kind of draws me into a movie is just kind of in this movie constantly has odd choices. It takes a turn that you don't usually expect to happen, even though the story is pretty basic and never goes beyond what it should be. That kind of hampers it. But at one point, the Kevin Costner character is so pissed off at the two ladies that are with him that he gives them haircuts, and that was just the weirdest thing.
Well, that's why I say it's kind of like you're there, and then that happens, and it's like,
Like what the fuck? What the fuck?
no, exactly. Like what the fuck did I just see? Like, what the fuck does that have to do with it?
It's just I just love that. You say what the fuck, and then you laugh, and then you go, okay, this is this movie.
Right.
So you never know. It throws you off. You never know what's going to happen. Also, I have to ask. He has he's mutating. He's a mutant in this movie. He's kind of like Namor the Submariner.
That's
He's
true.
the Mariner.
Well,
he has the little gills behind the ears. Does that work? Physically, would that work? Gills behind the ears.
I'm not sure. I mean, it is very interesting in that it's a very hand wavy kind of way to kind of not have to worry about it too much, like or doing kind of other something else, and just like Namor or Aquaman. And fortunately, there's kind of like just this natural thing with water and video games, like you mentioned, that kind of has a slightly negative connotation or just kind of very dismissive. I'll put it that way if it's not. But this one isn't. It absolutely, sadly, suffers from that a little bit. Whether it's justified or not, that's the beautiful part of why we tell you to go watch it yourself, make up your own mind. But I can see where it does. I don't quite pull through for the end all to make this a strong recommendation. As far as like, this is probably, in other words, so this is going to be outside the top 150. Let's put that way. But that is what it is. So
if you have 2 hours and 50 minutes to kill, and it's the only thing that you have in reach to watch, maybe give it a watch. I will. One last thing. Are you familiar with the Trailer Park Boys?
Yes.
There's a character
Bubbles.
on it named
Yeah.
Bubbles. Yeah, he's got the thickish glasses.
Yep.
There's a scene in this movie, a couple of scenes with this character. Yeah, the guy that's down there with the oil and the oil tanker, checking the levels of the oil. He's got very thick glasses, and I nicknamed him Grandpa Bubbles because he kind of looked like a Bubbles' grandpa. So if you see the movie and see that, then have a little laugh on me with that. But yeah, he was an interesting character as well. There's a lot of interesting characters. I did go through all of the people that they tried to get to play the Deacon. You had Gary Oldman, and you had I think Lawrence Fishburne. You had a ton of people. Gary Oldman, I read, said that he got offered Waterworld and the Scarlet Letter, and he wasn't sure which one to do, so he flipped a coin, and he ended up with the Scarlet Letter. So maybe that was better for his career than being but although I did read on Wikipedia that there was interviews with Kevin Costner and Dennis Hopper, and both of them said that they were still proud of the movie, that they think it's a solid movie. And I think Dennis kind of echoed my thoughts of the people were too caught up at how much the movie lost and made or whatever, and that they just kind of overlooked what the movie was in and of itself. So yeah, a very, very flawed, very maligned movie, but yeah, it does have its interesting moments, great action scenes. If I can see where people that are really into action movies would enjoy this to a certain degree, and those that are like odd and quirky characters would love it as well. But yeah, it's one of those movies that Yeah, it's flawed, and maybe I wouldn't recommend it. Yeah, just because there's so many caveats that I have to give the movie before I would recommend it. But if you're kind of interested in train wrecks, it's definitely worth checking out. But yeah, it's
one thing is for certain, there is nothing else like it. I'll put that way. Like that.
Yeah. If it's if you're really into Mad Max movies and haven't got your fill, maybe check it out. But yeah,
Sure.
I would pick a Mad Max over this any day of the week. You know, absolutely. Furiosa, absolutely over this.
Oh God, night and day. Yeah, but that's the beautiful thing. You know, you rise and fall, right? So like these things have their. But I don't have too much more to add. Did you, Tom?
Let's see. There was let's see. There was some. There was. I will mention there was a a video game made off of this. It was the Nintendo Virtual Boy had a video game. I think there was a Super NES. There was a. They did. As of July 2021, Universal Cable Production was in early development for a follow-up TV series. So that could happen. Also, I'll say that there is the theme parks. I think they're still active, I believe, and I think the one in Japan had a collab with One Piece. Where you know the characters kind of the Waterworld characters kind of interacted with the One Piece characters in that world. So yeah, and also this is kind of a pirate movie as well, kind of a post-apocalyptic pirate movie. Instead of gold, they were going for land. You know, they were looking for me land. So yeah,
that's what I say. It kind of follows that trope of treasure hunting. X marks the spot, kind of on the map, kind of thing.
Yeah,
our plot device, for lack of a better term. Yeah,
absolutely. Where the main character has no care whatsoever for whatever buddy's after. Yeah, it's like again the motivation in this movie is all over the place.
Well, I'll give it this. Like, you want to talk about like plot device or X marks the spot, so to speak. I'll watch this any day, anytime, any day, anywhere over the very last Star Wars thing. I'll put that way. So like I can actually extract goodness and enjoy aspects of this film that I never could with that. But
if you ever are curious as to what the benefit of physical effects over CGI, watch this movie. Just watch the action scenes in this movie and realize what good direction and solid physical effects can do for a movie, as far as just being in the world. The last so many Marvel movies and their action scenes are such, a lot of times there's close up mess of what's going on. This movie, exactly what's going on in the action scenes, and they all look real and they all play out well. The only one that was CGI heavy was there was a point in the movie where they go underwater to visit one of the cities underwater.
Well, in the creatures too, like creatures were heavily CGI.
Yeah, that was interesting. A scene where the mariner used himself as bait to capture a seawater creature for food. That was inventive. I like that. But yeah, I think we could put a nail in this. This is done. We got all salty watered and got a little salty with this.
A little bit, but that's okay. That's okay. I've been Mike.
And I'm Tom. Stay above water.
Pulling from the void we know so well. Oh, horror, fantasy, the stories we tell.